Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to speak about what Barcelona can learn from PSG's UCL winning blueprint. We're also going to be talking about Dembele and the reason why I believe that Dembele has done so much better at PSG compared to FC Barcelona. So let's talk about one of the first few things that Barcelona can learn from what PSG did this season under Luis Enrique. Starting with PSG first, they have a simplistic structure. They have a consistent 4-3-3 formation. There is clear roles within their playmakers, especially like Vitinha, Joao Neves, Fabian Ruiz. They all know exactly what to do, where to position themselves, how effective they could be in the final third, and when they need to come back and track back and defend. And you combine that with explosive wingers, like for example, Hakimi, and they have Dembele also on the right, who sometimes occupies that space. They're dangerous and they have clear roles. So players like Dembele, Doué, and Hakimi are all allowed to express themselves freely within a solid tactical base that's created by Vitinha, Joao Neves, and Fabian Ruiz. And we especially saw that against Inter Milan, and Inter Milan just had no answers towards any of the problems that were given by PSG. And their counterattacks are ultimately lethal. Very similar to FC Barcelona, but I would just say that in terms of our back line, we're a little more disorganized at the back, and that's mainly because of our high defensive line, and sometimes some players go unchecked. With PSG, there's more of a balance. There's a reason. It's all like, high risk, high reward type thing, right? Like you're going to be having those drawbacks. Like Barcelona are willing to display such a high defensive line because they want to score more goals. There's a reason why Barcelona is the highest goal scoring team in Europe. It's because of how they play and where their defense is positioned at. But PSG do find that balance under Luis Enrique, and so they have always been backed by a structurally sound midfield, which I love. With FC Barcelona, once again, in a 4-2-3-1 system under Flick, we're more volatile in pressing, risk taking. Sometimes we're left exposed due to our high line pressing and not being matched with defensive structure or depth. There's heavy attacking reliance on individual brilliances of Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, and Lewandowski. And I believe that going into the next season, we'll see much more of a clear attacking setup and a much more clear defensive setup. So in the end, a clear structure with a midfield that controls tempo, like PSG's trio, can balance risk-taking with game control. I think that Flick may need to revisit his attacking midfield choices to ensure more composure and creativity in tight games and make sure that we don't lose the ball in the middle of the pitch like we did against Inter Milan. We'll see how that does turn out in the next season. I really just cannot wait. Moving on towards another point that I want to make: PSG's mental preparation and squad confidence. PSG's mentality has shifted under Luis Enrique, and it did not happen overnight. It did not happen after like 4 to 5 months when Luis Enrique was hired. This is the second season for Luis Enrique, and there's a reason why PSG are now finally clicking. It's because now Luis Enrique has had enough time with these players, making them believe that they are the best team in the world. There is a new identity under Luis Enrique. It's less about superstars, more about hungry talent, and we have seen that through their youngsters. The tactical clarity has helped reduce the players' anxiety. And in those high pressure moments, like in the matches against Liverpool, Arsenal, Inter Milan, they were all met with belief and not fear. Dembele was also praised for his work rate and pressing, and not just his flair, right? So there's different things that they're starting to call out for Dembele that makes him so special, right? When Dembele was at FC Barcelona, the only thing that people said was, oh, his flair, his dribbling. But here it's a whole other different situation. He's being praised for his work rate and pressing, and that is due to the mentality shift that PSG have gained through Luis Enrique. With Barcelona's mental state, I believe that yes, they have improved compared to the previous years, but we have seen some moments of nervousness and I would just say weaknesses. Players like Araujo made mistakes, Kubarsi made mistakes. We have seen some players like maybe even Pedri lose the ball in the middle of the pitch, or maybe even Dani Olmo. It is those moments where you have to believe that I am better than you, and you cannot, lose the ball or make a misplaced pass. Those things cannot be permitted. And I believe that yes, like I've said, Barcelona's mentality is much higher compared to the previous 4 to 5 years. I do think that it needs to go an extra inch above. And I think that if Barcelona can make that click, everything's going to be okay. Dembele at Barcelona, at the club when he was there between 2017, 18, 19, 20, 2021, Dembele faced a lot of constant whistling, labeling, and locker room instability. No wonder Dembele at PSG is playing much better, because the fans do back him. At Barcelona, it's a whole other different situation, and a lot of people were really trying to put a lot of bad things and bad energy against Dembele. We're going to get very Dembele focused in just a few minutes, right? But in the end, build a safe environment all around and you combine that with consistent coaching, clear expectations, and positive reinforcements, you're going to get good things. Protect the players publicly and foster the internal confidence, and you'll be all right. PSG have done that tremendously well, and Barcelona have to work towards that. And once again, it's all thanks to Luis Enrique. Luis Enrique is a gem to this club. Another point that I want to make is the squad rotation and depth management. PSG's depth is really good. They have replaced Kylian Mbappe with youth and tactical intelligence like Doué, Barcola, Cavara, Mayulu. All these players came in after Kylian Mbappe left, and that's really good because it's the brilliance of Luis Enrique and the fact that he said, okay, if Mbappe is gonna leave, I'm just gonna only bring more youngsters in, and youngsters who actually want to play for this badge and play well. And they maintained intensity through the rotation without any major drop in quality. For example, key contributors like Dembele and Vitinha were always surrounded by players who knew their roles. There was never a drop in quality whatsoever. At FC Barcelona, what do you think happened when we lost Lamine Yamal on the right? It was tough. It was hard to replace Lamine Yamal. Our drop in quality was really bad compared to PSG. If we lost Rafinha, for example, it was big news. If we lost Alejandro Balde, everybody was complaining that Gerard Martin, when he came in, he could not provide the exact same final third efficiency, and it was over. It was just like that. That's just how it was. Like, we did drop our quality when one of our main starters, had to leave due to fatigue or because of injuries. And there's a reason why Hansi Flick stated, a few weeks ago that he wants to reinforce every line. It's because he knows that his bench needs to improve much better. If Barcelona improve bench quality and player readiness, especially in the forward line and midfield, Barcelona will receive much more rewards. Now I do want to move on towards the Dembele conversation, right? I want to talk about how Dembele was treated at Barcelona compared to PSG today. And I believe that it has a lot to do with the mentality damage that Dembele received. He was constantly being labeled as an injury prone and a Neymar replacement. I think that what really hurt Dembele's name is the fact that he was part of that 220 million euro plan that Barcelona did. Barcelona sold Neymar for 222 million euros to PSG, and we brought in Dembele, we brought in Coutinho and Griezmann, and you guys know the whole story. But Dembele was part of that story, and Dembele was seen as a Neymar replacement, and so everybody was like, okay, we spent so much money on you, which was like 100 million euros or something crazy like that, and you are the one that is going to come in place for Neymar. So we expect you to have a high ceiling, to perform well, score goals, and to always be available. But none of that was shown through Dembele. And I think that it was unfair to kind of label Dembele like that, to say that this is going to be the Neymar replacement when he was only 19 years old at that time. He was very young, and it's really hard to, adapt your football to FC Barcelona. And so he was booed at the Camp Nou multiple times, and fans gave up on him very early. And media blamed him for fitness issues, rooted in Barcelona's, flawed training methods. You combine those two together, of course, you're not going to get the best out of Dembele. It just wasn't meant to be. I remember, dude. I remember in those past 5 to 6 years, a lot of people did not like Dembele, and people wanted Dembele out. I guess that goes for almost all players. When you have a club like FC Barcelona that was not well run sportingly and financially, every player was going to get the punch to the face. And Dembele was the biggest victim, mainly because, once again, he was part of that 220 million euro plan that Bartomeu had. I would even say that maybe there was a poor tactical fit. He never had a consistent system to work with. Getting coached by Ernesto Valverde, and then Quique Setién, and then Ronald Koeman, and then Xavi Hernandez. And I believe that the one coach that got the best out of Dembele, it was Xavi Hernandez. And Dembele was getting up there. And the final season that he has had with FC Barcelona, and which was under Xavi Hernandez, he had the best season ever, which was the 2022-2023 season. He was amazing. On the right wing, left wing, you just could not drop Dembele. And I do think that the fact that he played in multiple roles, like on the left wing position, right wing position, false nine position, not giving him clarity on what he is supposed to do in those positions, ultimately led towards Dembele underperforming. I would even say that there was locker room and club instability. You have a dysfunctional project with weak leadership, and instability is going to harm the player. A poor medical and training approach early on, and it caused repetitive injuries. And I understand why a lot of people were just so over with it with Dembele, is because he was never really available. So we fast forward to his time at PSG. And I believe that he was given much more clarity in his role and what he was supposed to do. Dembele was clearly instructed to press, create space, deliver final passes, and not carry the team. There were multiple times at Barcelona where Dembele needed to carry the team, and sometimes he could not deliver. But here, he's not given that type of role. He's just saying, look, press, create space, be there for your teammates, deliver the final pass, dribble if you want to, but all in all, we're not going to put all the pressure on you. Just do your thing. Luis Enrique was able to do that with Dembele, and he did that very well. He played more centrally and in high leverage moments, freeing him from the touchline isolation, meaning that because you're going to be playing central, you can go to the right, to the left, or the middle, do whatever you want. You're free, right? Express yourself. And I think that the fact that he also was given defensive responsibilities, that has also earned him respect, and Dembele liked that. Luis Enrique did state, I would give Dembele the Ballon d'Oro just for his pressing today. Things like that really do matter. If you see a coach saying that I would give him the Ballon d'Oro only because he did this one thing and he did it very well, your confidence is going to go through the roof, because you're going to be like, I have more than that. I have more than just pressing. If that's going to give me the Ballon d'Oro, I can do even more. I'm one hell of a player. So Luis Enrique knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's saying. And that praise boosted his confidence and reframed how fans and the media do view him. And I believe that PSG focused on performance and not the price tag. One of the things that Barcelona did and its fan base was, we're going to focus on the price tag and nothing more. But PSG and the media, they were like, let's just look at his performance. Let's forget about the fact that we paid 50 million euros for Dembele, right? Because one of the things that they were saying is like, oh, we could just use that 50 million euros for this player or that player, but they got Dembele. But they did not talk about the price tag. They ignored it. They gave Dembele time after 2 years. Now you see him today with a Ballon d'Oro contender conversation, with a Champions League. He won the treble with PSG. It's amazing. And that's going to be the conclusion. Dembele did not change overnight. PSG gave him a platform, structure, and mentality backing. I believe that Barcelona in the end, unfortunately, gave him confusion, pressure, and hostility. And that is it. Barcelona have the talent, but PSG had the better blueprint to get him through all the trophies that they were competing for. Luis Enrique created a system where stars like Dembele shine because of the team, not in spite of it. If Hansi Flick can take the lesson, in my opinion, to heart, and really kind of try and see what worked and what didn't, next season we could see Barcelona not just return to the final, but finally lift the Champions League once again. And that is it, right? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.